So what you're looking at right now is what I like to call a paper doll. In this case, it's more like a digital doll, and this is the foundation of what I use to create characters. So because of my background as a 3D animator or 3D modeler, I tend to approach it as if this was a 3D modeled character. The reason why I choose this particular method is because, as mentioned in my previous video, I really need ultimate consistency and ultimate control over the look of the character. Doing it this way is the best way that you can have a character where you can control every aspect down to the pixel of what the character looks like. Your first starting point should be exploring the look of the character and finding a face. What you're looking at here are all the generations that I created exploring the look of the character. Originally, the character was designed for a rock music video. So I created this look right here, and this was the very first look. But I kept on exploring different possibilities. And at this stage, you're being really creative and just trying to find something that works. I realized that creating a character fully rendered was not the best way to go. If I needed to make any changes, or if I needed to change the pose, or needed to change any clothing for any reason, or even just doing a wardrobe change in the middle of the video, would be very difficult if the character was baked in. That means all the details are set in stone because everything is included. I also found it irritating when I found characters that had some elements that I liked and other elements that I didn't like. How do I combine these elements, mix and match these elements without having too much difficulty? The solution I found was to create a generic character that didn't have the wardrobe already in place. That way I can choose the look at any time or change the look at any time. So I started to develop just a standard pose where I could place clothing, makeup, and hair on top of. My goal then became creating a neutral character standing facing forwards towards the camera. The challenge that I faced most of the time was the AI generators would not create the character standing in a neutral pose. It would always try to put some kind of a fashion pose, or have the character not looking directly into the camera, or its head was turned, or its body was turned in a strange position. I discovered sketch to image or image to image. It gives you the correct pose every single time. You use a line art template to control the proportions and the pose of the body. Once I decided on the look that I was going for, I then brought that image into Photoshop to start the process. So here we are in Photoshop. The image that you are currently looking at is not just a flat JPEG or a flat PNG image. It's very important to take note that this is a multi-layered image. I use a method known as photo bashing, and what that is, it's when you take multiple images from different sources and combine them all together to make one image. Just a quick breakdown to show some of the elements used to create this character. This is to show how much control and choice you have over the look. At this point, you're basically a fashion stylist for the character, also giving you the ability to change the color of the background, even to transparency if required. Every detail, things like changing hairstyles or adding accessories. To deconstruct the character even further, you can even go as far as changing body parts. This is a little bit crude right now because this is the first version I've ever done, but in the future, I was able to get more clean looking underlying anatomy. You can get really creative with it. I've used a neck choker and turned it into an actual belt for the skirt. I've added a little chrome heart in the center to adjust and make the scale look more believable. Another thing you have to consider is lighting direction. The lighting direction has to match with all the elements that you add. So the main character's face had lighting coming from her right side. So all the accessories I've added, I've had to make sure that the lighting was matching if possible. It's very important to also add shadows to connect objects to make them look like they're sitting on top of each other or interacting with each other. Just to show a comparison between the original character that was generated and the updated character with the added modifications and changes. What I'm trying to illustrate is that the character consistency is still an important factor. I haven't changed the underlying structure of the character's face. This is the exact same face that I've started out with, derived from the original character that was created. It may feel at times that this is not the same character, but once you start removing the additional elements that were added, you'll realize that this is the exact identical face. The only actual modification I made to her facial anatomy was I felt her right ear wasn't visible enough in the image, so I cloned her left ear, flipped it over to the other side, and adjust the lighting to make it match. So essentially what I want to show here is that the entire character was built based on this main image of the face. So what I'll do is I'll hide the layer mask or disable the layer mask, and there you go. That is the image that this was started with, this entire file. And I'll reactivate it and again disable it just so you can see. And if I go ahead and select the head, you can see I can move it around because it's a separate object. And that is really important because that means I can go and no matter what body I place, I can always keep a consistent face just by putting this face on top of any body. So it's kind of like a manual face swapping. And I didn't delete the original image. The original image is still there. It's just that I used masking to mask out the areas that I didn't want, just in case I needed it for a reference or anything like that. This is the second version, showing that once the foundation is set, you can customize the character for any story that's being told. As a quick demonstration to show how versatile this process is, on the left side right here, we have the hoodie and what I like to call a body double. So this is just a generic generation of a character. What I wanted was not the character itself, but just the hoodie. On the right side, I have version 2. And what I'm demonstrating here is that if I wanted the hoodie, I could have cropped it out and placed it on the character, which I did in version 3. But for this version, say I didn't even want to go through that entire process. I just wanted to use the entire character's body as is. What I was saying is I grouped the head And what I'll do is I can then grab the head and drag it over. Let me select it. It's a high resolution head, so I'll scale it down to match the scale. And like I said, this is a manual face swap. And I can just place it using the head behind as size reference. So obviously, you're gonna have to go in and finesse it and fine tune it and make sure everything's right. You can see like the hair at the side, you would have to go and clean that up a little bit. But the point I'm trying to make is that by just putting the head there, I would have to then go in and maybe adjust the skin tones to match a little bit. But then the rest can remain as is. And we could go ahead and just use this as the final character. We don't have to do anything for the body if this was the outfit that I desired. One thing I forgot to point out, which is a big rookie mistake, is that the lighting, it doesn't match. So the head, if you notice, the lighting is coming from the right side of her face, and the body, the lighting is coming from the left side of her face. This doesn't work in every situation, but you could just flip the body. So now that the light is coming from the right side of her body and the right side of her face, and you just realign it. I'm just doing this quickly. Normally you wouldn't really move the body, you'd probably move the head. But now you can see the lighting matches, the shadows are in the right direction. So that you always have to pay attention to. So here we're looking at version 3 of the character. And just as a quick deconstruction, so you can see that every element you're looking at is an editable element. So I can click on things, like you're looking at the heart logo. I could remove the logo, I could slide it, move it around, I could rotate it, change the size. So this is what I mean by having ultimate control of the design. So I'll zoom in a bit and you can see that every element is accessible in a sense that we're looking at the hoodie right now. As a good example is I put an adjustment layer on it, enables me to even change the color without disrupting much. And I could adjust the saturation of it, change the hue. And again, this goes down to the very importance of having control over every aspect of the character. So this makes it easier to get exactly what you're looking for. So every element is adjustable and movable. And what I'm trying to show here is that initially I would have the straps, and that was always a problem. So this version, I just created this kind of support system right here, so that if I have outfits that look like this, it won't have the straps showing. But you can take any element and move it and adjust it and do whatever you like. So that's where the idea of creating a paper doll comes from. This is why it's important not to depend on AI at this point of the process. The reason being is, yes, we want character consistency by using the same image of the person, but even more so, if you have a client and the character is wearing clothing or accessories that have to be exactly to the product that the client needs to show, if you're trusting AI, AI might change or modify the look and it wouldn't be accurate to the product that's being sold. So by having an image of the original product or being able to control the look or the color of the product is very important if you're planning to do client work.